Mm. Mm.
Good afternoon. My name is Merin Anna Roy. So here we are going to listen GST case law. So our group consists of Alfy Jolly, Doriya, me and Joseph David. So the topic which we are going to study is GST case law gaming series. So moving to the introduction part. This is a case law which was related to a gaming service, and the name of the case is Might Be Level Fantasy Sports Private Limited Cases Union of India. So this case was led by Rajasthan High Court judgment on GST 2023, and the date of judgment was during the period of 18/1/2023, and the council stating consists of Sudhir Gupta, Sanjeev Shekhar, and David Mehta. So moving to the fact of this case. This is a case which related to a company which was providing online gaming services such as rummy, poker, fantasy, sports and casual games, etc. So the main fact regarding the case is that in order to avoid the GST, this company has been show these services this as a service rather than showing its goods. So the main case was regarding like the company was providing online gaming services like rummy, poker, fantasy, etc. So in order to avoid tax, they classify this as a supply service rather than as an actionable claim which they request. And also they were also as a penalty step out to the notice may not be confirmed. And the petitioner who have been given petition against the company says that there was a shortage notice arguing the nature of their gaming service has been continuously addressed by various authorities, and the petitioner has been argued that actually these are certain skill-based games and these are not falling under the category of gambling. So rest of this will be taken by Joseph.
So the first point is Honorable National High Court passed an interim leave to the petitioner and held that providing online gaming services are games of skill and would not be considered as gaining a chance of making or gambling. So after reviewing the petition from the GST authorities, the Honorable National Court passed an interim relief to the petitioner, saying that providing online gaming services can only be considered as a game of skill, but cannot be considered as a game of chance of betting or gambling. So next one is Honorable Court remarks that issuance of input SCN by the GST authorities on such service is nothing but just an abuse of the process of the law. So Honorable High Court also remarks that issuing such a petition against the gaming platform is cannot be taken as a case, but it can only be considered as an abuse against the law. And next one is Honorable Court directed the respondent to file a counter affidavit within a period of 1 month and thereafter listed the petition for admission final disposal immediately. Until any further order has to be passed, the respondent shall not recover any amount from the petition. After that, Honorable High Court directed the respondent to file a counter affidavit within a period of 1 month and thereafter listed the petition for admission final disposal immediately. And also, they also mentioned that until any further order, the respondent cannot recover any amount from the petitioner. So that's all about my topic. First will be taken by topic.
So next we are moving on to the classification of GST under this case law. In the given scenario, the petitioner company is involved in offering online gaming services including rummy, poker, fantasy sports and casual games. The issue revolves around the classification of these services under the Central Goods and Service Tax 2017 CGST and CGST or Central Goods and Service Tax. This component is applicable to intra-state supplies, that is, transactions that occur within the boundaries of a single state. So next we are moving on to the features of CGST, and the first and important feature is unified taxation. This levy and collection. The Act defines the conditions and provisions for the levy and collection of central goods and service tax. So there is specified conditions and provisions for CGST, and the Act clearly mentions it. Registration. It outlines the rules for registration of business under the GST regime. So there is a clear-cut idea of the registration under the GST regime. And next point is tax rates and classification. The Act prescribes the different tax rates for various goods and services and provides guidelines for the proper classification. So in case of normal goods or other goods, there are separate rates of taxes, and that will lead to the proper classification of the goods. So that's all about my topic, and the next will be taken by Alfy Jolly. So the next point is complaints and returns. Business are required to maintain proper records and file regular GST returns under the provisions of the Act. So under the provisions of GST, the business is required to file the returns at the proper and correct date. And the next point is provisions for input service distributors or ISD. Input service distributors can distribute the input tax credit to different units of a business under certain conditions. So the input tax credit is distributed to every unit of business by the input service distributors. And the next point is anti-profiteering measures. The Act contains provisions to prevent business from taking unfair advantage of reduced tax rates by not passing on the benefits to consumers. So here the business is preventing the Act prevents on taking unfair advantage of the reduced tax, and it avoids anti-profiteering measures. And the next point is electronic commerce. The Act covers various aspects related to e-commerce transactions and electronic platforms. So there are various aspects that are related to e-commerce platforms. GST Council. The Act provides for the establishment of the GST Council, which is responsible for making recommendations on various GST related matters, including tax rates, exemptions and amendments of the Act. So CGST leads on the establishment of GST Council, and that also is responsible for making recommendations on GST related matters. So that's all about my topic, and the next will be handled by Alfy Jolly.
So now we will have a look into section 3 of CGST Act and also section 74 of CGST Act 2007. And what is section 1 of CGST Act 2007 says? It says about the offices which are appointed under this Act, and offices are Principal Chief Commissioner of Central Tax or Principal Directors General of Central Tax, Chief Commissioners of Central Tax or Directors General of Central Tax, Principal Commissioners or Principal Additional Director Generals of Central Tax, Commissioners or Additional Director General of Central Tax, Additional Commissioner or Additional Director of Central Tax, Joint Commissioners or Joint Directors, Deputy Commissioners or Deputy Directors, Assistant Commissioners or Assistant Directors, and any other class of officers as it may deem fit. And these officers will be appointed by the government. And provided the officers appointed under the Central Excise Act 1944 should also be deemed to be officers appointed under CGST Act 2017. And section 3 of Central Goods and Services Act 2017 deals with the appointment of certain officers. And now we are going to discuss about the different roles played by these officers and what are their duties and responsibilities. The very first one, Principal Chief Commissioner of Central Tax or Principal Directors General of Central Tax. They are the topmost authority of CGST Act, and they oversee the entire administration of CGST Act 2017. Chief Commissioners of Central Tax or Director General of Central Tax, they are at the second position, and they are accountable to the Principal Chief Commissioners, and they have administrative control over a particular zone or a region. Then we have the next ranking on Principal Commissioners of Central Tax or Principal Additional Directors General of Central Tax. They are also responsible for the administration of CGST Act under their jurisdiction within a specific zone, and they report to the second rank holders, that is Chief Commissioners of Central Tax. And finally, we have Commissioners of Central Tax or Additional Directors of Central Tax. These officers manage the administration of an act in a particular zone or a region, and they are accountable to the Principal Commissioners of Central Tax. Then we have Additional Commissioners who have the duty under CGST Act for assisting the Commissioners of Central Tax. Then we have Joint Commissioners or Joint Directors of Central Tax. They work jointly with the Additional Commissioners or Additional Directors in administering the provisions the government, if it's found that any additional officers are required for carrying out the functions of CGST Act, then government can appoint other classes of officers. The provision at the end of section 3 states that officers appointed under the Central Excise Act 1944 will be considered as officers appointed under CGST Act 2. This clause helps ensure a smooth transition for officers already working under the Central Excise Act and facilitates the efficient administration of CGST Act. Then we have CGST Act 2017, Section 74. In case of scenarios where a tax is not paid or any short payment of tax is arise or error is refunded or ITC claimed and applied wrongly and utilized by reason of fraud or any willful misstatement provided by the assessee or suppression of tax done by the assessee. In such cases, what will be the provisions under CGST Act? What are the steps we can go for under Section 74 of CGST Act 2017? Where it appears to the proper officer that any of the above mentioned acts, such as if tax is not paid by the assessee or if tax is short paid or erroneously refunded or ITC is claimed wrongly or by way of fraud or willful statement is given by him or suppression of fact, any of these conditions arises, then the proper officer shall issue a notice stating the amount of tax he has to pay and also the interest paid by him and also the penalty which he should pay. And the assessee is also requested to show the cause notice where he should describe the reasons why he has done such kind of improper deeds. Okay, then the next provision says that the proper officer shall issue the notice at least 6 months prior to the said time limit. And where a notice has been issued for a period under subsection 1, the proper officer may serve a statement containing, he should give a statement containing the details about the tax which the assessee has to pay for the or the amount of short paid tax or the ITC which he has claimed illegally. All these details should be presented by the proper officer while giving a statement. Then we have the fourth provision. The service of statement under subsection 3 shall be deemed to be service of notice under subsection 1 of section 73, subject to the condition that the grounds laid upon in the said statement, except the ground of fraud or any willful misstatement, all others remain the same. Then fifth provision, the person chargeable with the tax may serve before the serve of notice. He can, if he finds that he has done any improper deeds, then he can pay the amount of tax which he missed to pay earlier, or he can give out the penalty equal to 15%. And if he has done before the issue of that notice, then proper officer, there is no requirement for the proper officer to further issue the notice. And the proper officer, on receipt of such information, he has to, in respect of the tax or paid or penalty payable, he shall not, he is not responsible for issuing such kind of notices. Then where the proper officer is of the opinion that the amount paid falls short, if the assessee has paid the amount, if he has short paid the amount, or if it's an incorrect amount that he has paid, then in such cases the officer can go for issuance of a notice. And where any person chargeable with tax under subsection 1 pays the said tax along with interest payable, under section 15 and penalty equal to 25% of such tax within 30 days of issue of the notice, all proceedings in respect of the said notice shall be deemed to be concluded.